Hello? Can you hear me, Mr. Talley?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hello?
Directional.
Mr. Talley, can you hear us?
Hello?
Nope.
His speakers the volume might not be up.
Yeah.
Check your speaker. Is your volume up? We can hear you.
Yeah, hang on just a second. Okay, now?
We can hear you.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear us?
Yes?
Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead then and start the meeting.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Okay, good morning. Sorry for the technical glitches. Joyce, I'd like for you, if you would, to do the roll call, please.
Dave Talley
Here. I'm
Here.
virtual.
on virtual. Tammy McDonald. Oh, she left the meeting. Okay. Alyssa Dewan. Here. Michael Dixon. Mark Bymaster.
Here.
Kathleen Weigel is absent. Leandre Camel.
Here.
We have quorum.
Is Kathleen here, did you say?
No, she's absent.
Okay. So we have myself, Alyssa, Mark, and Leandre, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just want to start out by acknowledging our newest member, Alyssa. Thank you for being with us. I'm sorry I can't meet you in person, but hopefully by the next meeting we'll be able to do that. So I want to welcome you. We've got a great committee, and we expect great things of you. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do introductions. I don't know where to start. Let's just start at one end of the table and we'll go around and introduce each other.
Brett Friedman, partner, RSM.
Alyssa Davin with the Audit Committee.
Leandre Camel, Audit Committee.
Mark Bymaster, Audit Committee.
Joyce Edison, Executive Assistant.
Christina Daniels.
Teresa Michael, Inspector General.
Carrie High, Counsel to the Inspector General.
Carrie, hi, by the way, happy birthday to you.
You're making me blush, Mr. Chairman.
I knew I would, but at any rate, go ahead.
Randy Lowe, the IG's office.
Corey Freese, Principal Representative.
Nancy Samuels, Accounting Director.
Frank Barbieri, School Board.
Is there anyone else?
Bob Bliss, Office of Inspector General.
Okay, if not, Terry, do you have any amendments? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Do you have any amendments or additions to the agenda?
No, we don't.
Okay, I'll ask then for approval of the agenda as written.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passed unanimously. Next, I'll take a minute and review the minutes of the September 17th meeting. And after you've had a chance to review that, I'd accept a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, Leandre Camel, move to approve the acceptance of the minutes.
Great. Is there a second?
Mark Bymaster, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. The next thing you'll find in your packet is the audit committee meetings, the dates and days for next year, 2022. So hang on to those for next year. That's really thinking ahead. That's wonderful. Are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to paragraph 4, audit reports. We'll go to 4.1, audit of controls for updating employee leave records into the PeopleSoft system. Who's going to present that?
That's going to be Susie Kay, our audit supervisor.
Okay, Susie?
Good morning, everybody. I think I'm on.
Morning.
Is it on? I don't know. I think it's on. Anyway, we're going to do a quick run through of this audit that was performed by actually one of our retired auditors, Alonzo Peterson. He left it for me to present. I see Mark running, which means it's probably not on. Okay. Does that work? Okay. So this is an audit that was an outflow of a previous audit that we did a couple years ago that was from the request of a principal and HR, where the principal had noticed she had a lot of substitute hours, but not the amount of leave time that she thought would match. So we opted to look at this at a more broad level, district-wide. So the objective of this audit, on the next slide, was to determine if the employee's leave and attendance records were accurately entered into the PeopleSoft system. So what we found in that previous audit was a lot of discrepancies, and we wanted to look at the entire district. So going to the next slide, I wanted to give you an overview of how this process worked, because there was a lot of detailed review that we did. It started at the 100% level, where we took the sublocator file just as a starting point, and we compared that to the PeopleSoft time records. And this was done by one of our auditors, Carla Acevedo, who she took and performed this electronically comparison. Now, we know that there's not necessarily going to be a matching record for every sublocator file, because for every sublocator request, sometimes people request a sub for professional development, for other events that they're still working, but they need a sub on campus. But this was a starting point. So based on this 100% match, we had 19% of the sub hours that were requested did not have a matching attendance record. So we moved from that point to the next slide. And what we did is, to make this more manageable, we then took and we just focused on what we called the full day requests. So a teacher's average hours are like 7.5 hours a day. So what we did is we focused on sub requests that were for 7 or more hours. From all of the exceptions of the non-matching sublocator requests, what they did is they then selected 100 employees for detailed review. We took the 10 employees from 10 schools with the highest number of full day requests that were the exception part. We presented these 100 employees to the IT department, and they helped us to pull the TDE forms, which is the document that employees fill out to request leave. So the TDE forms are in a system that we used to call Liquid Office. I think it's called eForms now. And essentially, they're a PDF document, and the system stores it. So IT went through, located all of the ones that they could in the system for us, and then we again went through those 100 employees, looking to see if for the sublocator was that person have a request for leave. Now, when I need to back up. When I say it's an exception, what it means is that we had a request for leave or we had a request for sub, but the individual received pay for that day. So what we're trying to identify is, did the person actually, were they working or not working on that day? You go to the next slide. What we did is we took, after we went through TDEs, we assembled a list of exceptions. We handed them off to the schools, to the payroll contacts, and to the principals. And we asked them to see if they could present us with any evidence, any documentation that would show that that individual was working. It could have been a signature on a sign-out sheet or a sign-in sheet, maybe something on an agenda meeting. We'd even take gradebook information, anything. And from that, when everything was said and done, and they looked at it, when it came back, if you go to the next slide, this table 3, which is in your report, this was what the final outcome was of that preliminary review. So out of the unmatched TDE requests for that 100 employees, we still had 360, we had 1,000 full-day requests that the person was paid, but we didn't have any evidence that they had worked on that day for that number of hours. And then the unmatched TDE requests were days without substitute requests. Those were when IT presented us with all of those PDF forms. There were forms that the employee had completed for a TDE, maybe didn't ask for a sub on that day, but had gotten paid. So that's the difference between those two columns. So from this preliminary review then to the next page, we concluded that there were some inconsistencies in the documentation for leave application. There was also, because in some schools they were still using just paper versus the electronic version, and there was a lot of manual process for updating the leave records into PeopleSoft. But a lot of this is going to be resolved, which staff will probably speak to at the end of this presentation, because a new leave request system is in process right now. On the next slide, so from a preliminary review, we extended it into 2 schools. And we took the 2 schools that had the highest number of unmatched exceptions still, and that was Lake Worth High School and Lake Worth Middle. And what we did then is Alonzo went to the schools. He pulled 100% of the time records for the period looked at those schools, and we repeated the process for the full staff at those 2 schools. And again, any exceptions were presented to the principal. If you have anything that would show that this individual was on campus, working, or at professional development, or anything that was needed for pay, give us the documentation. We even accepted, and the benefit was always given to the employee, even if it was on a sign-out sheet where, with an initial on it, that was given to them. What you see at the table here was what was left over. So out of those time periods at those schools, these were the exceptions that were still outstanding when we finished our work. So our conclusions, which are on the next slide, from that extended work, we had a lot of TDE forms missing. A lot were incomplete, not always approved, and that was both electronically and in paper. We found teacher sign-in sheets that we deemed to be slightly inaccurate, in the sense that I've had examples of, say, like during the December going into winter break, most sign-in sheets are for a 2-week period of time, and you would see where 8, 9, 10 teachers would sign the entire 2 weeks, which they've signed off on the first day of that 2-week period. So we had teachers that in theory were working right through winter break. So but again, if there was an initial on the sign-in sheet, that was removed as an exception. So management basically has concurred, and that their response was that the district is introducing a new online absence request process that'll be integrated into PeopleSoft, and it should resolve many of these issues. Our office is actually one of the pilot groups that's working with that new system as well. So from that, are there any questions?
Okay, does anyone have any questions on this report from Susie?
I just want to clarify what's going on, because some of the terms, we're unfamiliar
Sure,
with.
and I understand.
So was this teachers, employees were putting in for a substitute, but then there's no related, them taking the day off? There's no record of them taking the day off? So they were getting paid as if they were working, but there's no actual documentation that they actually worked that day. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. And it also seems like when you have the days versus the amount of teachers, it seems it's probably some of the same teacher, over and over was maybe the same teacher.
I did fail to mention that we forwarded our report to professional standards, and they're looking at it from a more detailed teacher
Okay.
perspective, yes.
All right.
And we have somebody from Professional Standards and HR if you have any questions.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Leandre here with a few.
Yes, Leandre.
Very, very few, just two. Who's initially responsible for the school-based input? Is this also the data processor that's responsible?
There's a payroll contact at every school that is trained and has job aids available to them to assist them with this process.
Thank you. Is this also similar in nature to what we were discussing last month, where the computer systems are not communicating?
Yes, that is correct. However, we have we've implemented for 88 departments in 3 schools so far an absence process through PeopleSoft, which is our payroll system, our HR payroll system, which then alleviates the need for the payroll contact to enter anything. The employee requests the leave, it routes to the payroll contact, to the supervisor, and then just gets entered onto the timesheet.
Thank you. Okay. And I noticed that management concurs with the inconsistent documentation for leave application. It also states that it would be school-wide early as October. Now, the October, knowing that this is a 2019, period covering 2018 to 2019, where is this school board?
It's October, well, our plan was for this month. However, it's probably going to be November before we go district-wide to all the schools.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or discussion?
Nothing further.
If not, I'll accept a motion to approve Susie's report.
Motion to accept the report as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, before we vote, do we need to update the report? Do I need to amend that motion with the understanding that the update won't be completed, won't be school-wide until November?
That's fine if you want to revise the motion.
Yes, I will revise the motion with the understanding that the report, with the instead of October date, with the November 2021.
Great. We have a revised motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. Susie, nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to item 4.2, special review of middle school after-school program fee collection procedures. Who's going to present that?
I will. My name is Andres Ortiz, and I perform the special review of the middle school after-school fee collection procedures. The primary objective of this review was to assess the adequacy of fee collection procedures for the middle school program.
Next slide. Show the next slide.
And just to, you can go to the next slide. And just to give a little bit of background, the middle school after-school program are operated at 35 schools, with each school determining their own hours, whether it's a morning care, afternoon care, or both, as well as their program content. The programs are primarily funded by the Safe Schools appropriation, with 20 of the 35 schools charging student fees to help supplement the program. Students who qualify for free and reduced lunch are also eligible to attend the program for free. The Department of Extended Learning also provides a after-school manual to the directors and as well fiscal and management support. And in the we performed a survey with the 35 schools and produced the following two conclusions. The first one we noted was that the fee schedules and collection practices varied from school to school. In the after-school manual that's provided to the directors, a fee schedule is given. The program directors were advised for the program fees to not exceed $2.50 an hour and to collect in advance if possible. Of the 20 schools collecting fees, 11 of the schools charged $2.50 per hour in advance of attendance. 3 schools charged a fixed monthly rate. An additional 3 schools charged full or part-time rates based on actual days of attendance, and those parents were billed the month after participation. And of the 8 schools I just mentioned, or of the 17 schools just mentioned, 8 of them collected a one-time registration fee. And lastly, 3 schools collected a one-time fee with no monthly fees. Our recommendation was for the district to develop a uniform fee structure and collection schedule to ensure proper fiscal accountability, which they concurred. And in the next slide, there's our second conclusion was that the maintenance of financial records needed an improvement. Our survey revealed that there were varying methods for maintaining and tracking fee collection records at the schools. 6 of the schools used the record of payment form that was recommended in the after-school manual. 9 schools used computer spreadsheets, whether it be Google or Excel, developed by the director to track fees. 2 schools used their own paper ledgers they created. Another 2 used credit card payment reports that were generated by the treasurer from the school's internal funds accounting system. And 1 school tracked based on student registration forms because they only collected registration fees. And also the middle school directors did review the student payment records individually monthly. However, none of these schools reconciled the expected program fees that have been collected for the entire year and compared them with school cash to ensure all collections were accounted for the year. And our recommendation was to consider implementing an automated system similar to what the elementary after-school programs use, Easy Care, and that is to be able to maintain registration and attendance records. It will assist in automating billing records, as well as generating aging reports and being able to easily reconcile fees collected for the year with the school's internal accounting system, which management also concurred. And does anyone have any questions?
Was it stated that they were looking into the cash collections to make sure they were in accordance to the records that they do have? Was that looked into?
Now, what we do is they did not do that. They are just recommending.
I believe we have somebody from aftercare that could speak to this.
I think she's online.
Tawana?
Yes, can you repeat the question?
Well, there was a mention of something that the reconciling the cash, the collections back to what the reports. I know a lot of schools were collecting differently, but they were trying to reconcile it. Was a reconciliation of the cash back to what the records they provided for the fees done? There was something stated with that, but I kind of missed exactly what it was.
I know there was a recommendation that we utilize the same fiscal program that K-5 programs are using. Unfortunately, the middle school after school programs do not have the funding to purchase that platform. In addition, that platform is causing major issues for our K-5 programs, and we are working with purchasing to look at a new RFP. However, we have reviewed the recommendations with the after school directors and implemented practices that will ensure that we are aligned in implementing district policies regarding fee collections and reporting, and also streamlining the fees that are generated from the programs. I also have the manager, Olivia Rogers, who actually facilitated the training with the directors, and I will allow her to share more in depth what she shared with the directors when she met with them. Olivia, would you like to share anything?
The directors have been all informed that there will be more uniform fees and processes in place, as is stated in the report to the audit committee. We will be having a meeting in December and March to work out that process and how the reconciliations will take place. Just as a note, because it's important that people understand that the middle school after school program has not been a fee-based program. It has been supported by grants from the Safe Schools Appropriations Bill for all these years. So the whole issue of collecting fees is more of a new process. With elementary, it is fee-based and a business, whereas middle school after school, it is not that way.
Okay, are there any other questions? Andre, nice job. If there are no further questions, I'll accept a motion to approve this report.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, next is an update of the internal funds audit.
Currently, we're moving forward with the internal funds audits. There's been no change, no issues that we've discovered so far. They're noteworthy. It's progressing on schedule.
I'll accept a motion to approve this report.
I'll make a motion that we approve the report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, we'll go to item 6. We'll go to 6.1, procedure manual inspections. Who's going to cover that?
That we have Director Bob Liss from our Contract Oversight Bureau.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Bliss. I'm the Officer of Compliance and Quality Assurance in the IG's office. I lead the Contract Oversight Unit, and what we do is we review contracts and procurements, and this report, I'm sorry, I got confused. I'm on the wrong agenda item. A little too much of an introduction.
We're on item 6.1.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Anyway, what we did is we recently modified our procedures manual to better align with guidance that is published by the Association of Inspectors General. They publish the principles and standards for offices of Inspectors General, which our office follows. Now, the guidance that they publish has separate quality standards for each of the 3 areas, the main areas of work performed by Inspectors General. And those are audits, investigations, and inspections, evaluations, and reviews. We have a procedures manual for audits, and we have one for investigations. And now we have a manual specifically for conducting inspection, evaluations, and reviews. And this better aligns our internal procedures with the documents published by the Associations of Inspectors General. And we're presenting it here to you for review and for any comments that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, Leandre here.
Yes, Leandre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are these best practices that are just throughout the IG world altogether that's being presented here?
They certainly are. They closely align with the Association of Inspectors General's guidance, which, well, I don't know how many, but this is the standard in the industry for following principles and standards when conducting our work.
I'm a little biased to Palm Beach County, so I follow that question with what's specific and what's different and what's going to make Palm Beach County office, this procedure, stand out. Are we going to operate any differently with a different set of eyes or more in tune look, or are we just following the standard practices?
Yeah, good question. The standard practices are general enough, so each Inspector General can use them and still apply them to the specific environment that they work in. So they're designed for that purpose. So we take them and we interpret them how to best use them in our organization.
So there are no changes inputted into this document specific to Palm Beach County?
Well, there are specifics as far as giving our staff specific guidance in how to document what we do. But we tailor them to what our Inspector General wants our staff to specifically do as far as documenting our work and carrying out our work. But the main guidance starts with the Association of Inspectors General, and then we have the details in there specific to our school district and our IG's office.
Yes, the overarching principles are the same. The Palm Beach County IG's office operates under the same AIG standards. We've taken those and then tailored them in a more specific manner to fit a school district and also to fit some of the areas that are a little bit more unique to not just looking at municipalities, which has a very broad area, where we are more centric on more prevention, looking at things as they emerge. Since we work with the audit and we work with the school district to see if there's anything that's happening, can we get ahead of it? Okay. So we're not simply reporting on things after they occur. So that's one of the great parts about Bob's unit, is that they're more proactive. They're going to be able to see as we're spending the money, as we are looking at contracts, before the contract is spent and we've closed it out and the money's gone or the damage is already done. That his office is on the front end of it. And that's where we work more in line. That's one of the things with being an internal IG, that you're more forward-thinking internally.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Andre, thank you very much. If there are no further comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, we'll go on to 6.2, contract procurement activities, quarterly report for September 30th, 2021.
Okay, now I'm on the right agenda item. Okay, our quarterly report is there for you guys for your information. Our contract and procurement related activities for the last 3 months are summarized in this report. It lists the district meetings we attended and includes 7 contract selection committee meetings or negotiation meetings. And those meetings involved a total estimated contract value of more than $78 million. And the reason we attend these meetings is we see it as a proactive approach to help ensure contracts are awarded fairly. The last item in this report on page 12, it summarizes a contract compliance review of a $36 million construction contract that was engaged to modernize Verde Elementary School in Boca Raton. And when we complete that review, we will present our findings to you in a separate report. Are there any questions on the quarterly report?
I have a question. For
Yes.
some of these vendors, that if when the review's done, if it's shown that there was malice involved in the contract negotiation or the performing of the contract, is there a process to where these vendors would be put on a note?
Hey, Danilo, are we going to be,
Will they be on a do not contract list? Is there a process for that, or is?
Yes. Each department would have their own procedure and process for that. We look at a lot of construction contracts because those are usually the large dollar ones. Yeah, and the contractors get evaluated at the end of those jobs, and as far as their performance goes by those staff in that unit.
And if it's shown that, it might be multiple contracts, and if it's shown that that vendor is not performing these contracts up to par, would they be put on a do not contract list?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. Those staff involved with that process would be better to address that.
One of the things that we do, this is just the overview of all the activities that they're looking at. If there is any issues, number one, if requiring an audit or an investigation, they immediately we will then refer it over. And that happens quite a bit. Either an audit is going forward, like internal funds audits, and we'll find something that relates to fraud. So then we bring in investigations. And the same thing with contracts. And the procurement side. So as they're looking at something, if there's a problem, and especially if it's fraud or there's some type of, we think there's kind of kickbacks or there's some bid collusion going on, we will definitely initiate an investigation. And then there is a process where if you're found to have violated that, there is a barred vendor list that through the state, and that there's a listing that is kept that you can be registered on that. So we would, by all means, as soon as we see that, we refer it and go into an investigation or audit, whatever's appropriate, or a criminal referral.
Yeah. You just don't want a vendor to continually keep getting contracts, and then there's problems with those contracts, and then they just keep winning bids, and at some point they should be put on some sort of.
Exactly. And that's one of the good parts about with Bob's team going out there and watching the interactions, and then taking those interactions and then working with our audit and investigation side, and also with the district to see if they're having any issues as well. The district has been more proactive in reporting things to our office this past year than I've seen in most areas. We're now getting referrals from the district themselves saying, we've got an issue, we want you to look at this.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this presentation.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, next is investigative reports. These were previously sent to each of you members by Joyce, so I don't think there's any need to discuss that. In terms of annual or general comments, I just wanted to say that I got a chance to review the annual 2021 report of the Office of Inspector General, and Terry, I just want to commend you. It's written in King's English that I can understand, and I think it's a very, very excellent report. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was definitely a team effort.
I can tell. Okay. Are there any other comments?
Leandre Campbell here, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just want to really, one, commend the Inspector General's office for the work that they're doing and the way everything is presented in a very organized and presentable way. At the same time, I have to add that the recurring conversations regarding our digital communication within the organization really needs to be addressed. I'm not sure if the conversation is going to come from the IG to the superintendent or where. But that really needs to be addressed. And then, like I said earlier, I'm biased to Palm Beach County, and I enjoy seeing how our policymakers fight and work hard for the students in Palm Beach County. But it's these little dings that make that fight more of a challenge. And we really need to work on improving our digital conversation without, any violations of anything. But that really needs to get worked out in order for Palm Beach County School District can continue moving forward. That's all I have, but I just know that needs to happen, from procurement to payroll to background checks to all of these things that just keep coming up. It goes back to a foundation, and I really think it needs to get addressed well in advance of something truly major happening. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair. We really need to get that addressed.
Okay, thank you. Point well taken.
And we certainly understand that, and I think that there's been a large effort for a decentralized environment, and I think that's caused a lot of the areas which is kind of hard to get them to communicate because different areas have had their own systems and operated, and the district has said that they're committed to working on getting more of a unified and communicating environment. It's taking time, but I know that Chairman Barbieri has, put his, behind it, his efforts behind it, and the superintendent has as well, and we'll continue to work with them and try to get the best we can.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add, I'm sure this is being looked into to where probably the main issue is all this is IT related, and it's a huge cost to incur to implement a lot of these programs. Is it looked into, any of the money coming from the bills that were passed related to COVID, looking into paying for these issues, these IT issues? Has anyone looked into if it's allowed under that, and if maybe it can help in burdening the cost of these software related issues?
I don't know. I know that they are looking at ESSER funds and everything towards IT. I know that is a portion of it. I don't know if the district is looking at more of an enterprise type of a electronic data, where each system interacts with the other. I know that this is a problem that is shared at the state level. You have so many legacy systems that can't speak to each other, and trying to get them to meet their security environments. But this is definitely something that we can address with finance and the superintendent and the board as well.
So I'm going to say, because usually the biggest burden of implementing these systems is the cost to actually implement them. And if it's possible to use all the funds that are coming in over the next few years, this is probably the opportunity to maybe get this done.
I know that there's always limitations, and I don't know, with the different fundings and the grants, and some of from Washington, they're still coming out with the guidance and still coming out with the rules. So I think that's kind of emerging, but I imagine we're not the only school district that's having this same concern. We're just one of the largest.
Okay, thank you. Chairman Barbieri, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
No, sir. No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further business, Alyssa, I want to welcome you again to our committee. And if there's no further business, our next meeting is scheduled to be on November 19th. And with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. We have a motion?
Yes, sir. Leandre Kelman made the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Stay well, and I look forward. Hopefully, I'll be back in person this next month. So, y'all take care, and again, stay well. Thank you very much.